Hello everyone, after the chapter of lease, let's move on to another chapter. Okay, so this chapter is about the dilutive securities and the earnings per share. Okay, so this part 1 is mainly about the dilutive securities. Okay, and then in part 2, okay, in another part of notes, okay, we'll talk about the earnings per share. Okay, so now let's go through the dilutive securities. Okay, so what is really about? Okay, think about it. If you are a company and then you want to borrow money, right? Because you want some money to develop your business. Okay, so you borrow money. Okay, however, you will later need to pay regular interest, and then later you need to pay the principal. If you have no money in the future, then you may need to go into bankruptcy, right? Okay, therefore some people, when they borrow money, okay, they are afraid that they may not be able to repay the money. Therefore, they will try to borrow any things like dilutive security. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, let's talk about this convertible. Okay, let's talk about this convertible security. What is this all about? Okay, think about it. Today, you are a company. You need some money to develop. Okay, you need some money to develop your business. Okay, as a result, you borrow money in a form of convertible security. How does it work? Okay, you're the borrower. Today you borrow $100 from a bank. Okay, you borrow $100 from a bank. And then in the future, okay, this convertible bond, you may need to give out money, or you may need to, okay, pay back share to the borrower. Okay, so this kind of convertible security or a convertible bond is mainly about that the borrower may pay back money or shares to the lender at the maturity date. Okay, so that means, for example, after 10 years, you will need to pay money back. Okay, after 10 years, you will need to pay money back to the lender. Okay, and then at the maturity, the lender will either ask you to pay back. Okay, the lender will either ask you to pay back money, or the lender will ask you to pay back share. Then you just pay what the lender wants. Okay, this is what we call convertible bond. Okay, why is it called convertible? Because the lender can convert the money into your shares. Okay, so this is how a convertible bond works. But then you need to think about it. Okay, as I have been repeating during the classes, you shouldn't just focus on the debit credit, or you shouldn't just focus on the accounting. You need to understand how the reality works. Think about it. If you're a borrower, why don't you just borrow money from a bank and pay back money to the bank? Okay, why would you do a convertible bond that you might pay shares back to the bank? And then on the other hand, think about the lender. Why would the lender not just lend you money and get back your money? Why would the lender would try to get back your shares? Okay, so in order to talk about why some people would like to go for convertible bond, let's talk about the benefits of convertible bond to the lender and to the borrower. Okay, from the perspective of the borrower, why don't you just borrow money from a bank in a form of normal loan? Why would you borrow money from a bank in the form of convertible bond? Okay, so this is more like benefit to the borrower. Okay, so the key point is, think about it. If you borrow money from a bank in a form of normal loan, today you borrow $100 from a bank, and then in the future, every year you give back like $5 every year to the bank. And then after 10 years, you pay back $100 to the bank. Okay, but if you do it under convertible bond, Do you think the interest that you will need to pay is still $5, or more than $5, or less than $5? It should be less than $5, right? Why? Because at the end of year 10, you may need to pay back. Okay, you may need to pay back shares to the bank. That would make you, okay, give up some ownership of your company to the bank. Therefore, you today would not agree at an interest rate of 5%. You should agree with the bank at an interest rate of less than 5%. Therefore, a key benefit to the borrower is that interest payment in a convertible debt maybe only 5%, maybe only 4% every year, which is lower than a normal debt that you need to repay regularly at 5%. It's less than that in a normal loan. Okay, so this is a key benefit to the borrower. Okay, that means as a borrower, the money that you will need to pay in the future is actually less. Therefore, some people may want to borrow in a form of a convertible bond, but not in a form of a normal loan. Okay, but of course, that is only the benefit to the borrower. Of course, there should be some benefit to the lender. Otherwise, the lender would not lend you such a bond, right? Such a money, right? So, what is the benefit to the lender? What makes a lender lend you money like this? Remember, as a lender, under a normal loan, the lender will be able to get back $5 interest every year. Okay, but under a convertible bond, they only get back maybe $4 every year. So what makes the lender lend money to you if they have only less interest income? It's because the lender at maturity date may get back shares from the borrower. Therefore, okay, if the share, okay, at the end of year 10, if the share price of the borrower is going up so high, okay, the lender may get back share from the borrower and enjoy a really big gain because the share of the borrower is worth a lot of money after 10 years. So, the benefit to the lender is that the lender may enjoy a big gain, right? If the borrower share price is very high at maturity, right? Okay, therefore the whole thing would work like this. The disadvantage to the lender is that he only gets back $4 interest income every year, which is less than a normal loan. However, the lender may enjoy a big gain at maturity if the borrower share price is really high. Okay, so as a lender, we will need to compare, okay, the benefit and the disadvantage, and then finally the lender may decide whether to lend out the money in a form of normal loan or in a form of convertible bond. Okay, so let's repeat. So normally, okay, under what situation will a lender lend out money in a form of convertible bond? Under what situation would a lender lend out the money in a form of normal loan? Think about it. If you need to lend money to a mature business, would you choose to lend out money in a form of convertible bond or normal loan? Or if you lend out money to a fast growing business, for example, you lend out money to Facebook, you lend out money to Google, would you lend out money in a form of convertible bond or in a form of normal loan? Think about it. Lender usually lend money in convertible bond to mature business or fast growing business. Of course, fast growing business. Okay, imagine if you lend out money to a mature business, the mature business is pretty much the same every year. Okay, you would not expect the borrower's share price will be very high after 10 years at maturity, right? Okay, so as a lender, okay, if your borrower is in a very mature business, you don't really enjoy such a big gain, but you keep off the lower interest income at the end of every year, right? Therefore, if you need to lend money to a mature business, you probably would lend your money out in a form of normal loan. However, if you lend money to some fast growing business like Facebook, like Google, they may give you a really big gain in their share price at maturity. So you keep up your interest income at the end of every year. However, you might be able to enjoy big gain at maturity. So lender usually lend money out in a form of convertible bond to fast growing business. Okay, so we have a brief idea about how the lender and borrower would like a convertible bond. And then we have another situation. If you are the borrower, today you receive $100. Okay, today you receive $100 from the lender. In the future, you might need to give out shares or money to the lender. Then today, is it a liability because you need to pay out money to the lender later, or is it an equity because you may need to pay out shares to the lender in the future? Remember, right now on day one you receive $100. You never know what you will pay at maturity. The lender will only tell you what you will need to pay after 10 years at maturity. So right now you never know what you will need to pay. So you struggle whether it is a liability or an equity. Okay, because right now you don't even know what you will need to pay. So what would you do if you are a borrower? Okay, then we need to talk about how to accounting for a convertible bond. Remember, the whole chapter is from the perspective of the borrower, not from the perspective of the lender. Okay, so we think a convertible bond is a compound instrument. Why? Because in the future, after 10 years, you may need to pay out money or you may need to pay out share. And right now you don't know, so you think it is a combination of both. Okay, so we call it a compound instrument because it is combining that, okay, because you need to pay out money in the future plus shares because you may need to pay out share in the future. So we think it is a combination of both. Okay, therefore we would use the with and without method to value a compound instrument. Okay, I will show you in more details later. Let's go through some example. Okay, remember, now we're talking about the perspective from the borrower. Okay, let's talk about this example and then we can go through it all together. You are the CHE company. You issue a convertible bond at the beginning of 2019. Okay, think about it. When you issue a bond, does it mean you're the borrower or the lender? Remember, you give me a bond, of course I have to give you money. Since I give you money, I am of course the lender. You are of course the borrower. Okay, so remember, when you issue a contract, you receive money. If you receive money, of course, you're the borrower. So whenever you see the word issue, it means you're the borrower. Okay, so you're the CHE company and you borrow some money from me today. Okay, and you borrow some money from me today. Okay, and then 4 years. Okay, and then every year, interest rate is 6%. Okay, and then you are saying that it is $1,000 per bond, and you issue 2,000 bonds. That means today you borrow $2 million from me. Okay, so the whole thing is pretty clear. Today, I give you $2 million. You borrow $2 million from me. And then every year, in the coming 4 years, every year, you give me 6%. Okay? And then interest is payable annually on December 31st. So at the end of every year, you give me 6%. Okay? However, at the end of year 4, if I give you a call and say, hey, I want my money back, then you give me $2 million back. Or I can give you a call and say, hey, give me some shares. Then you say, every bond is convertible into 250 shares. That means in the future, depending on what I want, you either give me back $2 million or give me back 2,250 shares. Okay? Therefore, at maturity, at the end of year 4, that will be the maturity date, right? You're the borrower. You're this CHE company, you're the borrower. You may give me, you may pay back $2 million cash, right? Or 250 shares for every bond, so there's 500,000 shares, okay? Or 500,000 shares. Remember, today is only day 1. This is the first day that you borrow my money. Whatever you will pay, I will let you know after 4 years. And you never know it today. Okay? And then they say the market rate is 9%. Remember, if I lend you money in a form, okay, I'm the lender, you're the borrower. If I lend you money in a form of a normal loan, okay, I will charge you 9% because the market interest rate is 9%. However, I may get share from you in the future, so I may enjoy a big gain if your share price is good after 4 years. As a result, I am willing to accept a lower interest income, just like you can enjoy a lower interest payment. Therefore, every year I charge you only 6%, which is a little less than the 9%. Okay. So remember, you are the borrower. Every year you pay me 6%. Your actual interest payment 6% is less than, okay, your actual interest payment 6% is less than the market rate 9%. Okay, this is what we have been saying, that this is your interest payment lower than a normal one. Okay, this is the benefit to the borrower. The whole question is pretty straightforward. Today, you borrow $2 million from me. Every year, you give me 6%, but the market rate is actually 9%. At the end of year 4, you either give me back $2 million cash or 500,000 shares, depending on what I want. Okay, so you're the borrower. On day 1 when you borrow my money, what do? Remember, on day 1 when you borrow my money, you feel that it is like a compound instrument. It is a part of debt plus equity. You think you have both. Therefore, okay, we look at page 10. This is day 1 when you borrow my money. You debit cash $2 million because you borrowed $2 million from me. And then you think you have a bond payable. It's a liability because in the future you may need to give me back money, so you have a liability. Or you feel that you may need to give me 500,000 shares, so you feel that you have some equity. Okay, so this is what happened on day 1 when you borrow my money. Okay, and the day 1 is the beginning of 2019. So the beginning of 2019, the day when you receive my money, you do something like this. It's a combination of liability and equity. This is what we have been saying, that it is the compound instrument. Okay, let's go on. Okay, then how do you split the total money 2 million, into a little bit part of liability and a little part of equity? How do you split them up? Okay, so we follow these 3 steps. Number 1, we determine the total fair value of the convertible bond. Okay, this is of course $2 million, because today you give me the convertible bond, I give you $2 million. So the total value of the whole thing, of course, is $2 million, right? Okay, therefore, on day 1, you debit cash $2 million. Okay, so this $2 million on page 10 with the total fair value of the convertible bond. And then think about it. So what's the second step? Think about it. Normally, everybody needs to pay 9%, but only you are paying 6%. So the money that you will pay me should be somehow less than the $2 million. Therefore, you need to determine the liability component, right? How? By calculating the present value of all the future payment at the market interest rate. Okay, so let me do it for you. How do you get it? Remember, every year you will need to pay me 6% out of $2 million. So $2 million for 6% is $120,000, and you need to pay me this at the end of every year, and for 4 years, right? Therefore, this would be $120,000. This would be $120,000 every year, and you will need to pay me 4 times. The first time that you will pay me is 1 year later. The second time that you will need to pay me is 2 years later. right? So altogether you will pay me 4 times. So you do 120,000 multiplied by 3.23 and it is 388. And then at the end of year 4, you do not actually just pay me 120. Because if you need to give me money, you need to pay me, because if you need to give me money, you need to give me $2 million cash. So at the end of year 4, it is not just 120. It will be another 2 million to the power 4. Okay? So it happens only once. So 2 million over 1 plus 9% to the power 4 is 2 million multiplied by 0.70843. Don't worry about it. I will give you this discount rate, okay, in the exam. So this is what we call the 1x05 is what we call the liability component. You calculate the present value of all the future cash flow. See, all the future cash flow, 120,000 for 4 times, and then at the end the principal. This is the future cash flow discounted at the market interest rate. Market interest rate is 9%. This market interest rate. This is the liability component. Therefore, the money that you will actually pay me, the liability component, is only 1x05. Therefore, you credit liability 1x05. On page 10. Right? So it represents if you will pay me all the money in the future. Right now, today, it is worth 1x05. But you might ask, why the liability isn't $2 million? It's all because when everybody is paying 9%, you just need to pay 6%. As a result, your value of the liability should be somehow less than 2,000. Okay? So, this is the 1x05. So, if you know the total is 2 million, and the liability component is 1x05, and you also know it's a combination of both add up together to $2 million, and this debt component is 1x05, then what is the equity component? Then of course, you just make it, okay, the rest. Therefore, finally, you subtract the liability component in the second step from the fair value of the convertible bond. That means you use step 1 minus step 2, and then you have the equity component. That will be step 1 minus step 2. Remember, the second step liability component plus the final step equity component should add up to the total, right? Therefore, okay, second step plus the final step will be equal to the first step. Okay? Therefore, the first step, $2 million, minus the second step, the debt component, then minus the fair value of the liability component, then you have the fair value of the equity component, 194. Therefore, the other part is an equity component. Right? Okay. Therefore, on day 1 when you borrow my money, you debit cash $2 million and split it into 2 components, the liability component and the equity component, 1x05 and 194. Okay, so this is the 3-step approach that we would do from the perspective of the borrower on day 1 when you actually borrow money. Okay, so what we're doing is, okay, we use the fair value of the whole thing. Okay, this is step 1. minus the fair value of the liability component. This is the step 2, and then that will be equal to the equity component. Okay, so this is actually step 1 on page 7. The whole thing, the total money you borrow from me right now. This is step 1 on page 7 minus the step 2 on page 7, and then that will be equal to step 3 on page 7, and the step 1, step 2, and step 3 will be all shown on page 10 of day 1 of you borrowing my money. Okay, this is only day 1, but of course we will need to talk about after day 1 as well. Okay, so after day 1, what will you do? You're the borrower, right? At the end of every year you pay back 120. So whenever you pay back 120, what happens? Remember, right now if you pay off all the money, it is 1805. However, if you pay in the future, you will pay 120, 120, 120, 120 plus the 2 million. The actual money that you will pay, of course, is interest expense, right? So after day 1, at the end of every year, what will happen? Okay, that you will need to follow a table like page 13, right? You need to follow a table like page 13. Okay, this table we've done it for so many times. Okay, so 1x05, okay, and then it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. At the end of the day, it will become, at the end of year 4, it will become $2 million. Okay, and then for the money you pay, the 120 you pay, you of course split into the interest expense and the amortization component. Okay, therefore, going back to here, if you're the borrower, at the end of year 1, what will happen? You of course will need to pay 120, right? Okay, so this is the end of year 1, right? You need to pay 120. However, whenever you pay, it has been 1 year later, so you will need to pay interest. Therefore, sum of what you pay will become an interest expense. Okay, sum of what you pay will become an interest expense. Okay, so how do you get this interest expense? Of course, you can get it from the table, right? This is 162502 at the end of year 1. Or of course you can do it by yourself, just like in the lease chapter. We have been calculating this interest expense, right? You use this 1x05 multiplied by 9%. Right? So use this figure. This is the beginning of 2019 liability figure, and make it after 1 year. Okay, you make it 9%. Okay, and then and then the rest of what you pay. Oh, I'm sorry, this is a credit. Okay, and then the rest of the rest is, you should have paid 162, but you pay only 120. Therefore, you make your liability even bigger that you will need to pay in the future. Okay, so that will be 42506. Okay, 42506. Okay, so if you repeat this for a few more times, and then at the end of year 4, this liability component have to add up to $2 million. Because at the end of year 4, if you will pay money, you will need to pay $2 million. Therefore, at the end of year 4, by doing this debit credit for a few more times, this liability would all add up to $2 million. And then at the end of year 4, the lender will give you a call and say they might want your money or they might want your share. Okay, so think about it. If at the end of year 4, right, your lender give you a call and say, hey, give me some money, then what will happen? Repurchase at maturity. If the bond are not converted at maturity, that means you need to pay money. Okay, so at the end of year 4, if the lender give a call to the borrower and say, hey, please pay money, so if borrower we pay cash, then at the end of year 4, credit cash $2 million because you're the borrower and now you're paying $2 million cash, and then you debit the liability $2 million. Okay, so that would be what you will need to do. Okay, on day 1, at the end of every year, and then at the end of year 4. Okay, however, of course, the lender can also ask you, no, not paying money, give me shares. Okay, conversion of the bond at maturity. So at the end of year 4, your lender give you a call and say, I want my share. Then what will happen? You need to give out 500,000 shares to your lender, right? Okay, so at the end of year 4, your lender give you a call and say, hey, give me share. Then the borrower will repay shares, right? Then what happened? Remember, at the end of year 4, the borrower would either do page 11 or page 12, but not both. Because the borrower would either pay money or pay share, but not both. Okay? Therefore, okay, if your shares, if your lender give you a call and say, hey, I want my share, then you debit your bond payable $2 million, just like here. Okay, why do you debit the bond payable? Because no matter you pay money or you pay share, you just don't pay any more liability, so the liability will disappear, so you debit the bond payable. Okay, so you debit the bond payable to cancel your liability. Of course, you also debit your share premium. This equity is no longer needed because you're now paying off everything. So you basically, at the end of year 4, you delete both items. At the end of year 4, you delete both items. So at the end of year 4, you are the borrower. You debit the bond liability $2 million, you debit the share premium, you debit the equity, you are okay to derecognize, to delete the whole convertible bond. Okay, so you have to delete the whole convertible bond. And then what will you pay? You pay 500,000 shares, right? You pay 500,000 shares. Remember, is it your 500,000 shares with a par value of $1? That okay. So in Hong Kong, there was no more concept of par value since 2014. Okay, so in Hong Kong, we have a law effective in 2014, and to cancel the idea of a par value. But some foreign country, they still have a concept of par value. So don't worry about it. You don't see it in Hong Kong anymore. Okay, so but then if the par value is 500,000, then your share capital, okay, is 500,000. and whatever extra, you call it share premium. Okay, so you delete the whole convertible bond and you recognize the new share you have given out. You recognize the 500,000 share given out. Okay, so that will be what happens if you are paying shares at the end of year 4. Okay, but then you might wonder, if you pay out money, why don't you debit the share premium? Yes, you actually have to. Therefore, the amount, if you pay money, the amount originally in the equity 194 should be transferred to the share premium ordinary account. Okay. Therefore, you actually need to do one more. If you pay out money, you debit the share premium conversion equity because you cancel it because you don't pay share anymore. Okay, conversion equity. Okay, 194, and then you credit the share premium ordinary, just like here, to make it like, oh, you no longer pay out the share. Okay, so we're pretty much done here. Okay, remember, if you are the borrower of a convertible bond, this is what you will need to do on day 1 when you borrow money, and then at the end of every year you recognize interest expense, and the interest expense is calculated like the table on page 13. This is also have been discussed so many times, okay, during the lease chapter. Okay, so this is what you need to do at the end of every year. Okay, and then at the end of maturity, if you pay money, you do this. If you pay money, if you pay shares, you do this. Remember, you either pay shares, or you either pay money on page 11 or pay shares on page 12, but you never do both. Okay, so let's keep going and see what happens. Okay, is it possible that people would convert the bond before maturity? That means your lender, give you a call before the end of year 4. Remember, at the end of year 4 is the final day of the borrowing, the final day that you will need to pay off the money. But now, the lender convert the bond into share on December 31st, 2020, at the end of year 2. Right. So what happened at the end of year 2? And the lender give you a call and say, hey, I want my shares. So if borrower repay share, this is what we call before maturity. Okay, so at the end of year 1, year 2, or year 3 are all before maturity. And conversion of bond means the lender give you a call and ask you to pay. Okay, the lender give you a call and ask you to pay shares. Okay, then what will happen? Okay, again, day 1 you credit the equity 194. Now you pay off share, then you don't need this anymore. You delete it. Debit 194, delete it. And then on day 1 you have a liability 1805. Okay, now you pay it off. So this liability, of course, would also disappear. Therefore, you delete the bond payable, 194. But why is it 194? Because if you pay off everything at the end of year 4, okay, at the end of year 4, the liability is 2 million. But now you pay it off at the end of year 2, the liability is only 1894. Okay, so you have the end of year 2 liability figure and you delete it, and you credit the actual share that you give out. Okay, therefore what you do on page 14 is that you pay share at the end of year 2. What you do on page 12 is that you pay share at the end of year 4. So you basically do the same thing. You derecognize the whole convertible bond, but this liability figure is a little bit changed at the end of year 2. Okay. So you also derecognize the whole convertible bond. However, using the end of year 2 value, not the end of year 4 value. And then here, you same as page 12, that you recognize the 500,000 shares that you give out. Okay, so this page 14 is actually similar to page 12, just that you pay shares at different times. Okay, so this is what happened if you pay off the share a little bit earlier than the maturity. Okay, but this is pretty much the same as what you will pay at the end of year 4. So page 12 is pretty much similar to page 14. Okay, let's go on to investigate some more scenarios. Okay, let's go to page 14. What do you mean by repurchase before maturity? Again, before maturity, that may be end of year 1 or end of year 2 or end of year 3. Okay, and then you repurchase it, that means you're like paying off money. So, let me read. On page 12, you pay share before maturity. On page 15, you pay money before maturity. Okay, so that would be like, let's assume fair value of the whole thing on this day is 1965. Okay, so you're like at the end of year 2, your lender give you a call and say, hey, I want my money back, and then you repay the money 1965, because the market value of the liability, the market value of the whole convertible bond at the end of year 2 is 1965. Okay, so that would be more like or repay cash 1965 at the end of year 2. Okay, 1965. Okay, so remember, you are just the borrower. The lender, of course, can ask you to do anything because he is the lender, you're just the borrower. Therefore, now they ask you to pay money at the end of year 2. However, you might wonder, according to this table, at the end of year 2, the liability is only 1894. Then how can the lender ask you to pay 1965, right? Okay, so let me repeat my question. At the end of year 2, you're the borrower. You feel that the liability is only 1894. But then why would the lender give you a call and say, hey, you give me back 1965. Okay, so it's all because that this is the end of year 2. Okay, if you need to pay the money back to the lender earlier, the lender may ask you to pay the price based on the latest market situation, the market price at the end of year 2. The lender may not accept you to pay 1894 according to the original promise. Remember, this is the original promise that you and the lender agree on day 1. However, if you guys settle it earlier than the end of year 4, the original promise may no longer be valid. Okay? Therefore, the money you pay at the end of year 2 may be quite different from the actual value, the original promise value at the end of year 2. Okay? And now, you are actually paying 1965, which is more than the original promise 1894. Then, what should you do? Okay, let's see. On this date, at the end of year 2, the market value of the liability component is 1904. Okay? So that would be the original promised liability is 1894, but this is only based on the day 1 market situation. However, the market has changed. 1894 is no longer 1894. Now it is 1904. Okay, then what will happen? Okay, so let's go on to talk about the whole idea. Okay, first, you talk about the liability component. Next, you talk about the equity component. Okay. According to the original promise, end of year 2 liability value should have been 1894. Okay, original promise on page 13. Original value on page 13. Okay, wait, 1894. However, the situation has changed. Now, the market value at the end of year 2 has changed to be 1904. This is according to the market value liability. On page 16, right? Market value liability. So you can also call it this is the original value, the carrying value. The original value on your balance sheet. But now it is the present value, the latest value. So what is it is of course a loss. Why? Because you thought you could pay 1894, but now you need to pay 1904. You're like paying more than what you will need to pay. So of course this is a loss. Okay, let's go on. However, you don't just pay 1904, right? What do you pay? Altogether you pay 1965, right? So next, we talk about the equity component. This is the total payment. Right? The total payment on page 16 is 1965. Okay, or you can say this is the total value of the convertible bond. That's the whole thing. Do you pay 1965? Okay, you pay 1965. But then remember, this is the whole thing. The whole thing is equal to the liability component plus the equity component. As a result, this total payment minus the liability component, 1965. 1904. Okay, minus the liability component, of course, will be equal to the equity component. Therefore, if you pay money at the end of year 2, which is before the maturity, okay, which is before the maturity, and you pay extra money, then you need to split your extra money into the liability component and the equity component. Okay, so finally what we need to do is all together, okay, this is the end of year 2, right? You credit cash 1965. This is the total payment. This total payment, part will be paying for the liability. This is the liability component. Okay, because 1965, part will be cancellation of the liability 1895, and then the loss 10436. So the total liability component 1904. And then the other part is paying for the equity. Okay? And this is the total payment. So, what we need to do, if we pay money before maturity, then we will need to do it this way. Okay, then we need to do it this way. Carrying amount of the liability is the original liability. That will be 1894. You copy from the old table, 1894. Okay, carrying amount of the liability 1894. And then the money you pay allocated to the liability component is the market value of the liability, 1904. Okay? So, you make it a gain or a loss. Now you're paying more than what you should have paid. It's a loss. And the loss is 10436. Right, this is on page 18. Okay, this is also on page 18. Okay. And then the money related to the equity component is the rest, right? It's the rest. Where's the rest? This is the total. This is the liability component. The difference is the equity component. right? This equity component, it is 60,000. You make it as a reduction in equity. Okay, it's going to be a reduction in equity. Okay, so that will be pretty much all may happen in the way of a convertible bond. Okay, so let me repeat. Day one, when you borrow money, you break down all you pay into liability component and the equity component. And then at the end of every year, you recognize interest best. At the end of year 4, if you pay money, you do it this on page 11. Or if you pay share, you do it like this on page 12. However, if it is earlier than end of year 4, for example, at the end of year 2, if you pay share, you do it like page 14. If it is earlier than when you pay money, earlier than the maturity when you pay money, you do it like page 18. So be careful during the exam about what you actually pay, and then when are you paying it. Then you follow the relevant page. Okay, so another situation. Okay, so you're the borrower, right? Okay, every year you need to pay interest, and then at the end you may need to pay shares or money. But what about you no longer want to pay the interest? You want to settle, okay, the liability. You want to settle the bond early, right? So you give a call to the lender. For example, at the end of year 2, you give a call to the lender and say, hey, I want to pay back everything. Then I want everything to be over right now. But then the lender may say, no. The bond will last for 4 years. If you want to pay, no problem. You pay it at the end of year 4. Okay, if you want to pay it at the end of year 2, I don't allow you to do this. Okay, then if you're the borrower, what can you do? You can give more benefit to the lender so that the lender would accept your early payment, right? So it's an induced conversion. Issuer, okay, so who is the issuer? The borrower, right? So the borrower want to encourage prompt conversion. That means the borrower want to settle the whole convertible bond earlier. For example, you want to pay money earlier than year 4. You want to pay share earlier than year 4. Okay, so borrower. Okay, the borrower wants to settle before maturity. Okay, then the lender may not accept. If the lender may not accept, the borrower may need to offer additional benefit so that the lender will accept. So the issuer, the borrower, may offer additional consideration to encourage the lender to accept. Okay. Or offer additional consideration, offer additional payment, maybe additional money, maybe additional shares, so that the lender will accept. So the borrower offer additional money or additional share to attract the lender to accept the early settlement. Okay? So of course, you're the borrower, right? If you offer additional payment Okay, if you offer additional payment, that is of course your cost. So it is an expense because this is the additional stuff you pay. Right? Okay, let's go on. Let's see an example of this. You have an outstanding $1 million par value convertible bond. Okay, that would be convertible into 800,000 shares. So you are the borrower. Okay, outstanding $1 million convertible bond may be convertible into 800,000 shares. Okay, so on day one, when issue, that means on the day of borrowing, on day one, you have recorded the share premium in equity 15,000. That means on day one, you're the borrower. Okay, just like page 10, you have recognized an equity component 15,000 here. Okay, on page 10, on day one. Okay, so when issue, the equity component is 15,000. Okay, so what do you want to do now? You pay interest every year, right? But you want to reduce your annual interest payment. Therefore, what do? You agree to pay the holder. Who is the holder? Holder is the lender, because the holder of the contract. Who is the one holding the contract? Of course, that would be the lender. So you agree to pay the lender an additional of $80,000 if they will convert. Okay, so this 80,000 is the additional payment, additional consideration. Okay, of course, this 80,000 is your expense. So, why are you doing this? Why are you paying 80,000? Because you want to pay $80,000 more, and you want to settle everything, so that you no longer pay more, you no longer pay interest. So we want to reduce your annual interest. Okay, so this pay an additional of 80,000. This 80,000 is what we call the additional consideration. This is not in the original contract. Okay, this is the additional consideration in paid by the borrower. Okay, so what you do? What you do is easy. Okay, you pay the additional $80,000, and this is an expense. Okay, so this $80,000 that you pay is an expense. Payment is an expense. Okay, because you are paying more, you're the borrower, you pay more, right? According to page 19. Okay, and then what happened? And then you pay more shares, right? Sorry, you don't pay more shares, you just pay share. Then what you pay? You pay 800,000 shares. So you record the payment of the original agreement, the payment of the original contract, your 800,000 shares. Okay, to pay 100,000 shares according to the old contract on day one. Okay, so that will be pretty much all the scenario of a convertible bond. Okay, so let's go through it again. The study objective 1 is accounting for convertible bond. Okay, so remember, situation 1 is that the very normal situation. Situation 1 is from page 10, the day you borrow money, and then from page 10, the day you borrow money, to the end of every year, and then to the end. Okay, so that will be situation 1. And then everything has been paid off. Or you're talking about situation 2 that you pay before maturity, right? So situation 2, maybe you pay off earlier than maturity. So that would be page 10, day 1, and then page 14, okay, to page, okay, on page 14 to page 18. That will be the situation 2 that you pay share or money before the maturity. Okay, or we have paid, okay, so this from page 14 to page 18, that will be the lender asking the borrower to repay early. So we have situation 3, that will be the borrower wants to give more to the lender in order to repay early. So we have situation 3, from page 19 to page 21. Okay, that would be the situation 3. Okay, so that would be pretty much about the convertible bond. So during the exam, it would be an important area so that you have to focus on. Okay, try to do more question and question about it in order to enhance your understanding. Okay, so let's go through some more stuff. Okay, what about a convertible preference share? Okay, that would be pretty much the same thing. Okay, so what I want to say is you should focus on the treatment of the convertible bond up to page 21. Okay, for the convertible preference share, okay, or for the share warrant, they are less important. Okay, but of course we can also go through about it. Okay, so convertible preference share, that would be, again, you're the borrower, you ask money from the lender, and then you have to give out some share or money to the lender at the end of year 4 or at the end of maturity. Okay, so convertible preference share, and the option for the holder is the lender to change to ordinary shares. Okay, so very similar. Okay, let's see. You are this AG company. You issue a 1,000 convertible preference share. Okay, at a par value of $1. Okay, so you issue this at the price of 200 per share. So you're like borrowing 200,000. 1,000 multiplied by 200,000. And then the par value is $1 each. So $1 is the preference share and the extra money is the equity. Okay, so that would be day 1. The day you actually issue the share. When issuing preference share for $200,000 cash. Okay, so remember in this chapter you're always the borrower. Okay, let's go on. And then in the future, if nothing happens, then you just don't do anything. But in the future, one day, the lender may give you a call and say, hey, every share, I want to change it to 25 each ordinary share. Okay? So you're like giving out the share to your lender. So remember, previously you have preference share. You issue preference share to the lender and the lender give you 200,000. Now you give some ordinary share to the lender and the lender will give you back the preference share. So you can cancel these two figures because you no longer have any more preference share. So you derecognize the preference share on page 23. Okay, so you no longer pay the preference share. Okay, so this 199 and this 1,000 here is all gone. And then what else? You say every one's preference share will be given to 25 share. So you will be giving out 1,000 multiplied by 25. So 25,000 shares, right? So you will need to give out to recognize 25,000 share given out. Okay, 25,000 share. Every share is $2 each. So the par value, ordinary share capital is $2 each. And then the extra money, you put it into the share premium. Okay, so this would be about the convertible preference share. Okay, but this is not really anything special. Okay, however, you may not need to give share. You may give money, right? Okay, so if you give money, then what will happen? Okay, so let's do it. This is at maturity. If the borrower pay shares. But what about you pay money? Remember, if you pay share, you pay 25,000 share. What if you pay money? If you pay money, of course you pay the market price. Fair value 410. So that means if you pay money, you need to pay 410. So at maturity, and the lender give you a call and say, hey, I want my money. So your borrower we pay cash. Okay? Then remember, I don't really care whether you pay shares or pay cash. You have to make sure the day one 1,000 and 199 day one value is gone. You have to derecognize the preference share on page 23, no matter you pay share or money. To derecognize page 23, right? But then you pay money, right? But then you pay money 410. The extra money you pay will be like a loss. Okay, but it is not really a loss. So you can only put in the retained earning. So when you pay the 410, this is extra, this is more than, okay, the original value on page 23. Okay, the extra is recognized in retained earning. Okay, this is the total money you pay. This is the original money, and the extra money you pay, you make it in retained earning. Okay, so any excess money you pay, the 210, this is the excess money you pay, it debited to the retained earning. Okay, that would be about the convertible preference share. So page 22 to page 25 should be studied together as one concept. Okay, so, but of course, this is far less important than the convertible bond up to page 21. Okay, let's go on. About the share warrants. Okay, so what is share warrant? Again, very similar stuff. Okay, you are a company. Okay, you let the holder is like the lender, right? To buy your share, entitled to hold the holder is like the lender. To buy your share at a certain price. Okay? And they give you some money. So, what do you do? Okay, so let's talk about some examples. Okay, let's see here. Okay, but again, very similar stuff. You should pay attention to the convertible bond up to page 21. Okay, so let's see. This AG company issue a bond with detachable 5-year warrants. Okay, so you ask for money from the lender. Okay, and then you attach a 5-year warrant. What does it mean? That means in the coming 5 years, your lender can buy your share at $25. Can buy your share at $25. So anytime in the future, when your lender give you $25, you have to give your lender 1 share. At that time, your share is selling for $30. Okay? So such a warrant enable you, you're the borrower, to price the bond offering at a par with an 8.75% yield. Okay? So 8.5% yield. A little bit lower than the market interest rate. Of course, because you might give out share to the lender, and the lender will be willing to charge you less interest. So the actual interest that you will need to pay should be a little less than the market interest rate. Okay? And then you are able to sell the bond at this price. So that means right now you borrow money from the lender at this amount. This is the money that you borrow. Okay, so therefore on day 1 you see page 29 debit cash, on page 30 debit cash, they would add up to, okay, they would add up to 10.2 million. Day 1, borrower receive 10.2 million. Okay. However, the money that you will need to pay in the future should be less than 10.2 million, because the interest that you will pay is 0.75%, which is lower than the market interest rate. So your liability value should be somehow less than the 10.2. So present value of only the liability component is 9707. Therefore, what you will need to do on day 1 is that you debit cash and credit the liability. Bond payable, a liability 9707. Okay, and then the rest, of course, is the equity component. Right? It's 492. Okay? Therefore, your cash altogether would add up to 10.2 million. Okay? And you also break it down into the liability component and the equity component. Okay? So this will be day 1. So after a few years, of course, what may happen? The lender may give you $25 to buy your shares. Then what will happen? Okay, assuming the investor exercise all the warrant to get your share. So at maturity, if lender pay $25 cash to buy 1 share of the borrower, right? Okay, so you debit cash 10,000 share, $25, you receive the money, and then what else? You give them some share, right? Okay, so you receive the money, you delete this equity because you no longer have the equity because you have actually given the share. Okay, so you to recognize page 20, right? On page 20 you have recognized an equity, this 492. Now you don't have it anymore because you have, okay, cancel it. So you recognize page 20. Okay, and then you issue, okay, you issue the 10,000 shares, right? To recognize the 10,000 share given out. Okay, according to the question, 1 share with a par value of $5. So the $5 is the ordinary share capital. Whatever extra, you put it into, okay, the share premium. Okay, so that would be about the share warrant. Okay, but they are pretty similar stuff. Okay, so page 26 to page 32 should be studied all together. But again, you should pay special attention to the treatment of the convertible bond up to page 21. After the convertible bond, we have preference share, we have share warrant, but they are far less important. You should pay more focus. You should pay more focus on the convertible bond. Okay, so that would be about the objective 1. Okay, about the convertible bond. Okay, and then about the share warrants. Okay, so the key point is, again, the important stuff is from page 1 to page 21. Okay, so pay more attention to this. And then let's move on to the objective number 3. Okay, so what's the share compensation plan? Think about it. You're the boss in a company and you want to motivate your staff to work hard. Besides giving them cash, besides giving them salary, what else can you give them in order to motivate them more? Of course, you might give them shares, right? So you give a share option to your staff and tell them, oh, please work hard in the coming 5 years. After 5 years, I give you some shares. Okay, then after 5 years, your staff will come over to your office and then you need to give them some share. So you start to understand why we are talking about dilutive security. Think about it. What is the dilutive? If we are doing a convertible bond, then when your lender come over to you and say, hey, I want my share, then you need to give extra share to your staff. So you are a company, you turn on the printer and you print some share to the lender. Then your boss holding your company would have their ownership reduced. So convertible bond is an example of dilutive securities. So what about the objective number 3 about the share compensation scheme? Think about it. You tell your staff, oh, you work hard for 5 more years. After 5 years, I give you some shares. So after 5 years, your staff would go over to your office and then you turn on the printer and you print some shares to your staff. And then your original boss holding your share, their ownership again will be reduced. So convertible bond, share compensation scheme are all examples of dilutive security because they will make your old boss ownership on your company be reduced. Okay, so let's go through this share compensation scheme. Okay, what is this? It is actually a way you motivate your staff to work hard. So the key objective of why you are giving share to your staff is that you want to motivate your employee to work hard. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, think about it. Okay, we have some issue. Number 1 is your staff is working for you. If you give them $100, then the salary expense, of course, is $100. But now you're giving share to your staff. You don't give money. So how do you give share to your staff? You just turn on the printer, print some shares of your company. Then you don't actually give out money. If you don't actually give out money, then how can you determine the salary expense? Okay, this is an important issue. And then the next issue is you tell your staff to work hard for you for 5 years. After 5 years, you give them some share. Then how are you going to allocate the salary expense over the 5 years? Will you put all the salary expense in the first year, or in the final year, or every year in the coming 5 years? So over how long, over what period will you allocate the salary expense? Okay, so that would be the key important issue. So let's go through some example, and then you will see how we can handle such an issue. So on this day, November 1st, 2018. So you run 5 staff, 5 of your employees. You tell them, you let them have an option to buy the share of your company. Okay, you let them buy the share of your company. Okay, and you give them such an option at the beginning of 2019. Okay, so what are you saying? So you're saying that at the beginning of 2019, you tell your staff that your staff have an option to buy 2,000 shares from your company. Okay, the option price is 6,000. So you can imagine that if your staff wants to buy the share from you, they give you $6,000 cash and you give them some share. Right now on this day, market price on this day is 7,000. So you're saying that right now our company share price is 7,000. However, I want to encourage the staff to work hard. So I tell my staff, you can pay me $6,000 to buy my share, but right now my share is 7,000. Okay. So, how you're the company? How are you going to determine the salary band? Okay, and then for how long you're going to allocate the salary band? Remember, when you tell your staff this scheme, your staff would first ask you, hey boss, do you let me buy your share right now on this day? Or hey boss, do you need me to work for a few years before I can buy your share? So, you're the boss. Maybe you tell your staff that you have to work for 2 years. Okay? The expected period of benefit is 2 years. So so it is similar to that. It is like that. The staff has to work for 2 full years in order to buy the share from the company. So the employee had to work for 2 full years and then can pay 6,000 to buy share of the employer, right? Okay, so your staff of course would work hard in the coming 2 years and then hopefully they can get your share. Okay, so you're the boss. What would you do every day? Remember, okay, so this is the day when you tell your staff to work hard for the coming 2 years and then you will give them some benefit. On this day, you haven't given to your staff anything. On this day, your staff hasn't provided you with any service. So of course, on this day, you are the employer. What would you need to do? Of course, you don't need to do anything. There is no debit, no credit. Okay, next. At the end of year 1, at the end of year 2, what will happen? At the end of year 1, you are the employer. You will enjoy service from your staff for 1 year. At the end of year 2, you will enjoy the service from your staff for another year. Okay, so you keep enjoying the service from your staff and then you might give them share. So of course, you need to recognize salary with them. Okay, but we have a problem. We have a problem. The day when you announce your scheme is the beginning of 2019. The day when you actually give them share, it might be 2 years later. So how are you going to determine the value of the salary spent? Okay, would you use the situation of today? Or would you use the situation of 2 years later? Remember, it is impossible to use the situation of 2 years later because you don't even know what will happen after 2 years. So the only thing you can do is to use the situation today. Therefore, when we determine the salary band, we determine the total salary band based on the market value of the share. Okay, but the market value of the share of today when you promise your staff, or of 2 years later when you actually give the share to your staff, that will be, of course, on the day of grant. So you should use the fair value of the share on day one to determine your salary band. Okay? Use the values on grant day. Grant day or day one. Okay, you use the value on grant day or on day one to determine the salary expense. Okay, you should not care about the value of what will happen after 2 years, because you never know what will happen after 2 years. Okay, so according to the question, it says let's assume the total salary expense is 22 million. Okay, next, when you put this 22 million as your expense, when would you put it? Remember, on this day, you haven't given any share to your staff. Your staff hasn't provided any service to you, so you basically do nothing. Okay, but what about in the future? If you tell your staff to work hard for you for 2 full years, so you actually enjoy service from your staff for 2 full years, so you should recognize the salary band over the service period. That means if you will enjoy service from your staff for 5 years, you do it for every year for 5 years. If you will receive service from your staff for 4 years, you do it every year for 4 years. Now you only do it for 2 years. Then you do half for year 1, half for year 2. So you spread the total 22 million over 2 years. Okay, so end of year 1 you do half, end of year 2 you do another half. Okay, and you recognize the total salary expense. Okay, let's keep going. So after the staff has worked for 2 full years, then what might happen? They might come over to your company and say, hey boss, I want to share. So if the staff exercise 2,000 option and buy 2,000 share from you on this day, okay, on this day, so 3 years and 5 months after the date of grant, okay, so it's like 3.5 years later, they come over and say, hey, I want my share. Then what we do? Of course, you give them shares and you receive money from them, right? Okay, so you receive money from them. According to your contract, whenever they get the share from you, they have to give you 6,000. Now they get 2,000 share, so 2,000, okay, and then 2,000 share for $6,000. So we have cash from staff. Okay, so this is to recognize cash receive from your staff, right? So you recognize the cash received from your staff. Okay, and then what happened? You now give them shares, right? Okay, you now give them shares. Okay, if you give them share, you no longer have the share premium, because this share premium is like you might give them share in the future, but at the end you have already given them share, so you don't have to, okay, give them any more share. So this 22 million, right? This 22 million have to be cancelled. So you derecognize page 38. Okay, so you derecognize page 38. Okay, and then you give them actual shares. Okay, so you should recognize the actual 2,000 shares you have given to them. So you should recognize 2,000 shares actually given out, right? So that would be what happened. Okay, that would be what happened when you actually give them share. Okay, so this is when employer give share to staff. Okay, so let me repeat. Day 1 you do nothing. End of year 1 you do half salary expense. End of year 2 you do half salary expense because they have to work for 2 or 3 years. Okay, then in 2021 year 3, year 4, year 5, any more salary expense? No more. Okay, so no more salary expense in 2021 year 3, 2022 year 4, etc. Okay, so since you tell them to work for 2 full years, so you only do the salary expense for 2 full years. No more year 3, year 4, year. Okay, until one day they come over to get your share, you just give them some shares. Okay, but what about okay, they don't get your shares, right? Think about it. This is an option to buy your share, so your staff may not actually buy the shares. So what about when they give up and not buy your share? Okay, so if they fail to exercise the remaining share option, okay, remember, you tell your staff they may exercise the option anytime in the coming 10 years. So maybe at the end of year 10 they still don't want to get the share, so the option expires. So end of year 10, your staff has given up the share. When staff, okay, give up the option, when your staff do not want to get share from you, if your staff do not want to get share from you, then what will happen? Remember, remember, this 22 million, only 20% of staff get your share. 80% of staff do not get your share. So sorry, this is not to recognize, this is to de-recognize, to delete 20% of page 38. And then this is to delete 80% of page 38 because 80% of staff do not want to get your share. So you to de-recognize 80% of page 38. Okay, and then you credit what? Because it's given up, so you make it expire. Okay, so this was what happened on the day you make the promise. And then at the end of every year when you receive service from them. And then when they actually get your share or when they do not want to give your share. Okay, so you should study this page 38 to 40 all together. Okay, they're pretty much the same thing. Okay, remember, you try to study page 37 to page 40 all together as one big example. Okay, let's go on to see more situation. Okay, so remember now you're telling your staff that I work hard for me for 2 years. After 2 years, I give you some shares. Okay, but then there might be some other share scheme that you pay them. Okay, so that we call the restricted share. So what this all about? Okay, let me show you some example. Okay, so let's go with some example first. Okay, and then we understand how the reality works, and then we try to go back to the theory and see what we will need to do. Okay, at the beginning of 2019. Okay, at the beginning of 2019. So you issue some share to your staff. You have already given some share to your staff. Okay, without them provided any service to you yet, but you have already given share to them, 1,000 shares. Okay, such a share have a fair value $20 each. However, this is not really normal share. This is what we call restricted share. How restricted? You tell your staff, hey, you have to work for me for 5 years. So that would be like if your staff has worked for 5 full years, then nothing will happen. But if your staff resigns before the end of year 5, your staff may need to give the 1,000 share back to you. Okay, so this is what we call restricted share. You have given them the share, but they actually cannot sell it at this moment. Okay, and they actually have to give you some more service. So this is what we call restricted share. Okay, within the coming 5 years, before the end of year 5, they cannot be sold, they cannot be transferred. Okay, then what will happen? Right now, today, on day 1, you have given your staff 1,000 shares, right? Okay, so to recognize 1,000 share you actually give out. Okay, but then what do you debit? Remember, you shouldn't debit a salary spend. Why? Because it's only day one. You tell your staff to work for you for the coming 5 years. But right now, on this day, they haven't even worked for anything for you. They haven't even provided you with any service. So, this is not a salary spend. Don't debit salary expense. Okay, so what's this? Is it like an asset account? You pay them something and you ask them to work for you for 5 years. If they do not work for you for 5 years, you just get back your stuff. Okay, so this is more like an asset that you can force them to work for you in the coming 5 years. Okay, so you make it unearned compensation. Okay, this is the service they will perform to you. Okay, and then in the coming 5 years, what happened? In the coming 5 years, they of course would need to provide service to you. So this 20,000 would drop and drop and drop. After 5 years, it will become 0. Because after 5 years, you no longer can make them work for you. Therefore, at the end of every year in the coming 5 years, you change this to be salary spend. Okay, so end of each year in the coming 5 years, you make it salary spend because they keep working hard for you. Okay, so remember, total salary spend throughout the 5 years is 20,000. So of course 1 year is only 4,000. So you spread over the $2,000 for 5 years. Okay, just like this example, you spread the total salary spend over 2 years. Right, on the example on page 38, now you spread over the total salary spend over 5 years. So every year you do 4,000. Okay, so think about it. What happens if your staff suddenly leave? Okay, assuming that your staff leave on this day. Okay, so on this day, so your staff has worked for you for 2019, worked for you for 2020. So it will be more like after providing you with 2 years of service, your staff has left. So at the beginning of year 3, what will you do? Okay, at the beginning of year 3, the staff has left. Then what will happen? Of course, you get back the share from them, right? On day 1, you give them some share. Now they have left. You get it back. To get back 1,000 share from the staff, right? This is opposite to page 44. On page 44, you give them some share and ask them to work for 5 years. But now at the beginning of year 3, they have left. So of course you get the share back from them. And then they have already given the share back to you. And you can no longer force them to work. Okay, remember, At end of year 1, you do salary expense 4,000. At end of year 2, you do salary expense 4,000. So you reverse salary expense done in year 1 and year 2. Of course, because in year 1 and year 2 they have worked for you. You think you will pay them, so you have salary expense. But now they have left, you don't need to pay them anymore. So of course the salary expense is no longer an expense. So you make it back an income. You make it a salary income. And then this 20,000 at the end of year 2 will become 12,000. And it is no longer necessary. So do you recognize page 44? Okay, so that would be again what happened, okay, when you give them shares and then they fail to finish all the work for you. Okay, so let's go on. Let me repeat what's happening. On page 37 to page 40, it is like staff work first, employer give shares later. Right? This is the example from page 37 to page 40. Okay, but what about from page 43 to page 46? That would be, we give share to the staff first. Employer give share first. Staff work later. Right? So the first example, you tell your staff to work for 2 years and then you give them some share. In this example, you give them share first and tell them to work for 5 years. Okay, so let's go on. And then we can talk about another situation of giving share to your staff. Okay, so what is an employee share purchase plan? Okay, that would be the employer allow the employee to purchase share at a discounted price. Okay, so what is it? Let's talk about this example. Okay, and then we see what it is. You are the employer. You tell your 1,000 staff. Okay, you tell your 1,000 staff that they can buy 100 shares from you at a 20% discount. That means if your share price is $10, you will ask your staff to give you $8. So it's a 20% discount. Okay. And then the purchase price must be paid immediately upon the acceptance of the offer. Okay, so if the employer accepts it, they have to pay your money right now. Okay, and then in total, 800 staff accept the offer. Each one would purchase an average 80 shares. So they would purchase a total of 64,000 shares. Okay, and then average market price is $30 each, and you give them 20% discount, so that the purchase price will be 20% off, so it will be $24. Okay, so again, for this situation, how are you're the employer, going to account for your salary expense? Okay, so see here. So you say whenever they accept the offer, they have to give you money. So 800 people, everyone buy 80 shares, so they all together, okay, will buy 64,000 shares, and the purchase price $24 each. So 64,000 shares, $24 each is the money that you receive from them. Okay, so this is the cash, the money that you receive from staff. Okay, the money that you receive from your staff. Okay, and then what's next? The next one is, of course, you enjoy service from your staff, you give them some benefit. The benefit that you give them is your expense, right? So if they buy the share from you, normally they should have given you $30, but now they give you only $24. The $6 missing, of course, is the money that you do not receive. Such a discount is your salary expense, right? So the $6 discount is your salary expense, right? Okay, so you receive the money from the staff, and then you have the salary expense, and what else? And then of course at the same time you give them some shares. Okay, so this is the 64,000 share you actually given out. Okay, so that would be the treatment of such an example about a share purchase plan. Okay, but honestly it is pretty similar to all the things that we have discussed so far. Okay, so this page 48 to 49 is one example. Okay, so remember, okay, you need to see what would be the benefit you give to your staff. The benefit that you give your staff would be the value of your salary expense. Okay, let's go on. Okay, and then we have some more examples. Okay, about this objective number 6. Okay, this is also an important issue, is that, okay, some staff may not want to get your share. Maybe your staff at the end of the day want to get your money, okay, because normally a staff would want to get money. Okay, so but if you give them a fixed salary, they may not be motivated to work hard. Therefore, some employer, some boss may give their staff share appreciation right. What is share appreciation right? Share appreciation right is about giving out money. However, the money that you will give your staff, okay, so you will give money. The money that you will give your staff is depending on your share price. That means if your share price is high, you give more money to your staff. If your share price is low, you give less money to your staff, or you give no money to your staff. So share appreciation is the share price going up. Okay, it is the market price over, okay, the market price over a pre-established price. Okay, so that would be about you give out money to your staff depending on your share price. Okay, that's what we call a share appreciation right. Okay, it is quite different from all the previous examples that we've discussed. In all the previous examples, we are giving share to our staff, but in this example, we are giving money to our staff. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's see. So what do we need to do? Okay, again, let's check out some examples first before we really go through the theory. Okay, at the beginning of 2019, we give out a share appreciation right to our staff. Okay, so it allow our staff to receive money. Okay, so we give out money. So how much money will we need to give out? We would give out money for the excess for the share price over $10. So that means if your share price later is, for example, if your share price later is $12, you will give out $2 cash to your staff. If your share price later is $15, you give out $5 cash to your staff. That means later, if your share price is more than $10, you give your staff money. Later, if your share price is $10 or lower, you give no money to your staff. Okay, so on this day, you announce such a scheme. Okay, so this is day 1. And then at the end of year 1, fair value of this scheme is $3. So you can imagine that the share price of your company on this day is $13. So $13 over $10 is $3 extra. Okay, and then remember, whenever you announce such a scheme to your staff would of course ask you, hey boss, how long do I need to work for you? And then you tell your boss, it runs for 2 years. So that means your staff has to work for you for 2 full years in order to get your money. Okay, so again, let's do it day by day. This is the day when you tell your staff such a scheme. On this day, what will happen? On this day, your staff has not yet worked for you. On this day, you haven't given anything to your staff. On this day, you have just given a promise to your staff that you will do something, but you actually haven't done anything yet. So of course, on this day, you do nothing. Okay, on this day, you do nothing. And then, at the end of year 1, your staff has worked for you for 1 full year. Okay, has worked for you for 1 full year. You have enjoyed 1 year of service out of 2 years, because your staff would have to work for you for 2 full years in order to get your money, right? Now you have already enjoyed 1 out of 2 years of service from your staff. So what do? Okay, on this day, your company share price is $13, right? $13 is $3 more than $10. Therefore, right now, the fair value of the scheme is $3. So what will we do? Okay, so you need to remeasure the fair value at the end of every year. Okay, so what happened? You're saying that every staff can get 10,000 shares. Every share is $3 each, right? So if they get money from you right now, you have to give them 30,000. However, it is only 1 year out of the 2 full years, so you have to make it 1/2 to show that is 1 year out of 2 years. Therefore, you will debit a salary expense and credit a liability. Why do you credit a liability? Because you promise to your staff that you will give them money. Okay, if you will give them money, that is of course a liability. Okay, let's go on. What about the second year? The second year. This is the end of year 2. Right? So your company share price will change. Right? So your company share price will change. If your company share price had changed, then okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this is day 1. This is the end of year 1. Okay, and then we have the end of year 2. Okay, so this is the end of 2021. Okay, so this is the end of year 3. Okay, maybe we finish the end of year 2 first. Okay, so let's see. At the end of year 2, your company's share price have become 17. So the fair value is 17, is 7. So at the end of year 2, your share price is 17. So that means if you give money to your staff right now, you have to give them what? You have to give them $7. Okay, so this is the end of year 2. You say you have 10,000 staff. If they get money from you right now, you have to give them $7. And then you have already enjoyed 2 years of service out of 2 years from them. So you have to make it 2/2. Okay, because this is the end of year 1, you have enjoyed only the first out of 2 years. But now you have enjoyed 2 out of 2 years. However, 15 has already been done in year 1. Okay, 15,000 has already been done in year 1. So therefore, in the second year, you debit salary expense and credit a salary payable for 55,000. Okay, so you create more salary expense because your company share price has gone up and up and up, and therefore you have to pay more and more and more to your staff. If you have to pay more and more to your staff, of course your salary expense will go up and up and up. Okay. However, okay, so this is the end of year 2. However, at the end of year 3, at the end of year 4, at the end of year 5, maybe your staff still have not got the money from you. Then what happened? This is the end of year 3. And your company's share price has dropped to $15. So that means if you will need to give money to your staff right now, you have to give $5. However, $5 is less than $7. So you will need to give them less money. Okay, so let's see. We have 10,000 people. Everyone get $5. This is the end of year 3. So you have already enjoyed 2 full years of service, so it's 2/2. However, okay, however, so this is 50,000. However, At the end of year 1, you have done 15. At the end of year 2, you have done 55. You have already done 17,000 in previous year. That means your previous liability is 17. Your right now liability is 50. So your liability is reducing. If your liability is reducing, then your expense is reducing. Your payment is reducing. Therefore, you should make it an income. This 20,000 is an income. This 20,000 is not an expense. Okay, this 20,000 is not an expense. Therefore, what you are doing right here, if you need to pay money depending on your share price, you have to remeasure the fair value of the money you will need to pay at the end of every year. If your liability is getting bigger, then you have expense. If your liability is getting smaller, you will have income. Okay. One more thing. You tell your staff to work for 2 years. So of course at end of year 1 and at end of year 2 your salary expense. But then how come at the end of year 3 you see a salary expense? Because for this example, you are paying money. The money you will pay affect your wealth. The money you will pay affect your salary expense. Therefore, you keep doing salary expense. Okay, you keep doing salary expense even at the end of year 3, year 4, year 5, year 7. However, if you are giving share to your staff, if you say the period is 2 years, then you have salary expense in year 1, you have salary expense in year 2, but you have no more salary expense in year 3, year 4, year 5, because you give them shares. Remember, giving your staff share is so much different from giving your staff money. If you give them share, the salary expense will be done for just 2 years. If you give them money, the salary expense will go on even if it is year 3, year 4, year 5. Okay, so imagine on this day, your staff come over to your office and say, "Hey boss, I want some money." Okay, so on this day, employer pay $50 cash to employees. Okay, so if the employer pays $50 cash to the employee, then of course you credit cash 50,000. Because on this day the company share price 15, so 15 is $5 over the $10. So you pay them $5, okay? Because you have 10,000 and then $5 each, right? So you pay them 50,000, okay? And then the liability is all gone. Okay, so remember, if you are paying money to your staff, we call it share appreciation right. If it is share appreciation right, that means you pay them money, but the money you pay will depend on your share price. Okay, if you pay them money, you have to make it a liability. We have to classify it as a liability because the holder, the staff, would receive a cash payment. Okay, and so you have to remeasure the fair value at the end of every year until the day when you actually pay. When your liability is getting bigger, you have more salary expense. Your liability is getting smaller, you have less salary expense, or you can even say you have salary income. Okay, so that would be pretty much for today. So one important thing is the convertible bond from page 1 to page 21. Another important thing is about the share compensation scheme. Okay, share compensation scheme, we may pay share to staff, or we may pay cash to staff. Okay, so you have to be able to see what will happen if you pay them different thing. Okay, if you pay cash to your staff, okay, if you pay cash to your staff, that would be from page 52 to page 58. Okay, if you pay share to your staff, okay, that would be from page 37 to page 49. Okay, so what I can say is these three areas would tend to be quite important, okay, during the exam. Okay, so you have to like pay more attention to them. Okay, and then next week we'll talk about the part 2, okay, to calculate the earning per share. Okay, so that's pretty much for today. If you have any question, you can just email me anytime.